loves, how are you today? I know this looks like a very different setup, different style of video, and you are correct. So, it's a Thursday, never here on a Thursday, but here I am making a video for y'all. So this is going to be a new series on my channel where I sit down, do my makeup, play with makeup, that whole shebang. But that's not going to be the main focus of these videos. The main focus is going to be, I'm going to be telling y'all some scary stories while I do my makeup. It's either some ghost stories, some paranormal stories, or just scary stories in general that people have put on the internet for others' enjoyment. Or to just scare others in general. So if you guys like that kind of stuff, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell down below to be notified when I do upload these types of videos. And they're going to be uploaded every Thursday because I thought Scary Story Thursday kind of just went along. I feel like Scary Story Tuesday wouldn't have been good, so I thought Scary Story Thursday was the best option. So, yeah, and if you guys enjoy this video, please be sure to like the video. And if you guys have any scary stories or paranormal encounters that y'all have gone through, please be sure to let me know down in the comments because, maybe I'll do a video on one of your guys' stories too because I love reading scary stories, paranormal things. Like Ghost Adventures was like my favorite show for like years and years. So, if y'all like that kind of stuff too, keep on watching for this week's scary story. I'll see you guys next week. Whoop! Yes, my wonderful, you'll have to excuse my hair. You won't be able to see it, even though it is horrendous. So it's for your guys' pleasure. Pleasure? It's for your guys' eyes to not be having to see this. Oh, that is the worst bun I have ever done in my life. Okay. So, this story takes place. Just saying, I get all these stories from Reddit, or at least this one is from Reddit, and a lot of the ones that I have seen and heard and found and really liked are from Reddit. So, I'm not going to include the Reddit user just to keep their, not their identity, but just like, I don't know. So, a group of 7 friends, they were all college students, they were roommates, some of them were roommates, but they were just a group of friends who all liked horror stuff and drama and scary movies and all that fun stuff. And, they also liked ghost stories and all that shebang too. And so as the Halloween season started coming up on them, they wanted to find a creepy area to go and try to scare themselves in. Because, what other fun things are there to do when you're a college kid during Halloween? Then, to go and scare yourselves half to death in a forest. They went to college in New York, so that's the kind of area they were living in. So this group of 7 friends drove out about 30 minutes to this forest that was very well known for paranormal sightings. And the person who was writing this story described that as you're driving in, not into the area, but as you're driving to the area, you basically turn off like a busy road into a smaller road. But it's one of those smaller roads where right as you turn off of the main road, it just becomes instant darkness. Like pitch black, you can't see anything around you, just pure darkness. And so once you're met by this darkness, you're also met by just really thick and deep woods, basically. And if you didn't have a GPS or a flashlight, or you just didn't have a good sense of direction, you would very, very easily get lost because you cannot see a gosh darn thing in that area, according to them, because it was literally pitch blackness. It's as though you went to an area where there's like no, what is it called? Where there's no like light pollution and it's just pure darkness. So that's basically the area they found and went into. So, once this group of friends got into this heavily wooded area, they decided to then drive around in random directions aimlessly without really remembering where they're going or where they're turning for around 30 minutes. Just driving randomly so that they could purposefully get lost in the woods that they were in. And then eventually they ended up hitting a dead end only because there was a tree log that had fallen on the road, so they called it a dead end and parked on the side of the road and decided to get out of the car and walk in the woods alone in the middle of the night. Just the 7 of them. So once they decided to get out of the car and start walking around, they found 2 different trails, very small, narrow trails that went in 2 different directions. And so to choose which direction they went in, they literally flipped a coin and went down the trail that the coin told them to go down. And the coin decided that they should go down the right trail. And so the 7 of them went down the right trail and walked down that trail for about a good 20-ish minutes or so. Just aimlessly walking. But the trail was so narrow, they had to walk a single file line the entirety of the time that they were walking down that trail. So, Phil focus. After this group of friends walked along this path for about a good, I already said 20 minutes, they ended up finding a massive clearing at the end of the trail where literally you could not see the other end. So it was basically like a giant open circle of field and grass where the grass was like really tall and, not kept. You could tell nobody has been there in a while. Nobody has kept up with it. It's like the average if you walk through a forest and you find a clearing and it's just like tall grass. That's what they found. But it was so big that you could not see anything. So once this group of friends got to this big clearing in the middle of the forest, they looked to the right of them and they saw this big abandoned house. And what else would you do when you see a big abandoned house than to go and check it out? So that's what they did. This group of friends went straight to the abandoned house. And once they got to the house, they saw that the house was completely boarded up. The windows were boarded up. Everything was completely covered. Like nobody had been there in a long time. And so one of them peeked through the window and everything on the inside was covered in plastic. So nobody had been there in a long, long time. But there was still furniture in there. There was apparently a white couch that was covered in plastic. So there was still furniture in there, but just you could tell nobody had lived there for a long time. So once the group of friends were spooked enough by the house, they decided to go back towards the trail and just take a seat by the trail and just chill in the middle of the woods in this giant clearing. Okay. So once the friends got to the back to the trail and they were all about to take a seat, well, actually half of them were already sitting. Then there were a couple who were just kind of standing, chilling. But one of the guys decided to completely stop and his face went white. Like, this person literally looked like they were about to faint and drop on the floor because of what they saw. So then, once the rest of the friends noticed that this guy had just stopped, looked in a direction, and just went completely pale white, they all decided to look at where he was looking. And what they saw honestly even creeps me out, and I don't get creeped out very often. The guy whose face went white, he started pointing to an area directly across from them in the clearing, like on literally where they were standing, right across from them. Even though you can literally not see anything, you can see this thing. And basically, all of them turned to look at what he was looking at. And on the other side of the field from them, they could see a person. They think it was most likely a dude, a tall, lanky person, just dancing and skipping around the trees, like doing the whole where like they were grabbing like the trunk of the tree, skipping around it, doing a circle around it, then going to the next tree and doing that exact same thing to the other tree. In the middle of the night, in the middle of a forest. Like, okay, I would have left instantly, just left and just leave. So they saw this man dancing, and there's some people in that group, they don't get scared by anything. They don't believe in literally anything, and even that one person saw this and got terrified by it. So now is when it gets, that's already creepy, but this part, I think, is actually the worst of it. So, once these kids saw this person dancing around the trees and doing all that, the person in the trees literally stopped, looked at the group of college students. I should stop calling them kids. College students. Literally, you can't see anything. And there were no lights. The group of college kids didn't have any lights on either. So yeah, this dude literally stopped what he was doing. He stopped dancing. He stopped doing the whole la-di-da around the trees. Looked at the group of college kids and started full sprinting at them. Like full force, like he was in a marathon, Olympic, whatever, sprinting. Like he just started bolting for the group of college kids. What? Like, what? Like, okay, I'm just like, get out of there. Please, just leave. Like, I don't get it. Why? What? Like, just imagining that in your head is like, and I guess the lighting changed. I'm sorry about that. But yes, so this guy started full force just sprinting at them. Out of nowhere, he just started doing it. And so obviously, once this group of college kids noticed that this dude was full on sprinting at them, they, got up and started sprinting back down the trail to their cars. Because what else would you do? You're not just gonna stand there and, wait for the dude to catch up to you. Even though the person that wrote this story on Reddit, they said that the one friend who was a non-believer and stuff doesn't really scare them too much. That person still didn't even really notice or see this man running towards them, or this thing. I don't want to call it a man, I don't want to assume, but this person running towards them. He apparently didn't see it at all. So, as everyone else was sprinting away, as they should, this dude, this one guy from the friend group, was just standing there, not realizing what was going on, because he was asking everybody why they were screaming and why they were running. Don't you think if you see literally all 6 of your friends running and screaming for their lives that, you would probably follow along with them and not question why they're doing it until y'all are safe and stopped. But no, he stood there and waited. So he stood there, and as all of his friends were running and screaming for their lives, this guy, the one friend who wasn't running yet, he turns back around to look at the field, and he sees this guy running full force at him. And in his friend's words from the story, said that his friend told him that the guy had this like manic expression and look to him, like he was literally crazy. So that's what this person looked like. He looked like a crazy person, but I mean, you know, what else do you expect from that? And so then, once that friend saw this dude literally right behind him, or this person right behind him, that's when he finally decided to start running back down the trail to his car. And his friends were already far gone, you know. And so, he started running, obviously, as he should, and none of them stopped running until they got to their cars. And none of them looked back to see if the person was still chasing them, which I don't blame them, because why would you want to see if somebody is still chasing you? So, these friends made it back to their car. They got into their cars, they drove away, and once they got a significant distance away from that area, the trail, everything, that's when they all decided to stop on the side of the road, get out, and talk about what had just happened to them. And to this day, even though they aren't in college anymore, they are all living their own lives, they all have kids, they're all married. Well, most of them are married, I think, from what I remember reading. But to this day, they will all still text each other and ask them if that actually happened to them. And they also still don't even know if it was an actual person, if it was a spirit, if it was a ghost. They don't know what it was. They never figured it out. So, let's just say be careful when you go into forests or abandoned places or anything like that. And if you see some random person dancing or doing something like that in the middle of an area where it looks like nobody has been in for years, I suggest to just up and leave out of there. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I remember when I was reading the story, I was like, okay. But I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video, and I will see you guys next week. Next Thursday. Yeah. I love you guys so much. I'll see you all next Thursday. Bye. Oh, I should probably still do this. Hi.